I want to welcome Tim Hagen to the stage, and Tim will be with us for the next 45 minutes. Thanks, Tim.
So coaching is one of the most powerful things that you can do, especially when you're engaging. So today's objective, I want you to get out of this, or what are some techniques and strategies that you can use? The number one objection we get in our business is our managers don't have time. We normally fight people on the value of time. Our people are pretty busy, Tim. They're out there selling, they're working with their dealers. We don't have time to coach. You're already coaching. This is my son. This is not a coaching story about how to become a little bit cooler with girls. Because on the left side, as you can see, Liam looked like he's about to do a toothpaste commercial. And he is just thrilled this girl's willing to touch him. Doesn't he look thrilled? Because there's 3 levels of change, and I cover it in a few slides: effort, progress, and results. People are always making a decision based on the interaction you have with them. Am I going to produce more results? When we have manager coaches who are developing people who build numbers and skills go up and confidence goes up, behaviors go up, product knowledge goes up, we now have more predictable, sustainable results as it relates to our people. When you're out in front of your dealers and seedsmen, get rid of the words I and you. Adopt the word we. Boy, no one gets up in the morning and says, honey, I gotta get into work. There's gonna be a really good dose of constructive feedback waiting for me when I get in. And so what do people do when their numbers are down? Do they stand up and say, I gotta tell you, I'm a terrible salesperson. You should probably can me now that I'm thinking out loud. The number one thing that we encourage with coaching, look for the good things. 70% of your interactions with your staff, your dealers, your sellers, should be of a positive nature. Now, here's the role of the coach. This is a picture of Change Hill. It's steep, it's muddy, it's wet. This is a friend of mine, Janet Maratz, who ironically works at an agricultural company. When I first met Janet, and there's a reason I tell this story again, is I sat down with her, and all of a sudden I get one of these. And she just glares at me. And I said, so what are your thoughts of the coaching program? She said, I don't like it, I don't want to do it, and I don't like you. What's one thing you want to learn? She said, I would love to learn PowerPoint. I said, awesome, I'm pretty good with PowerPoint. She said, well, what do you want in return? I said, can you just be nicer? Here's the cool part of the story. She starts to pick up PowerPoint. Then I start to show her some desktop video tools and animation tools. She starts knocking it out of the park. So I go to Mark Adamson, the VP of training. I said, Mark, how do you feel about Janet potentially assisting on the new dealer portal with some of the training materials? He said, sure. I showed her work, and all of a sudden she throws her hat in the ring and said, I'd like to do the stand-up training. So between the age of 58 to 62, she traveled throughout the country, becoming a national trainer for the company, working with dealers. Get a manager who calls me and says, Tim, I got a guy. It's about 2-3 years away from retirement. Can you really coach people like that? I mean, I wanted to say, no, shoot him. I mean, what am I supposed to say? I teach coaching? Yeah, I'd give up on him. I mean, I would call his wife, just get the funeral services now. We'll just work ahead of the process. So I want to tell you a quick story when I went in and sold our services to a family-owned car dealership. And the owner looks at me and said, your price is pretty high. He said, are you going to say anything? I said, well, no, I'll answer any questions you have. And he said, well, your price is a little bit higher. Are you willing to lower it? I said, great close-ended question, no. So he looks to his brother, Brian. Brian looks at him, holds up his hands, looks at Dave Bush, the HR manager. He goes, what's going on? He goes, I think he's handling your price objection really, really well, I might add. So when you're prepared and we're talking about price objections, knowledge, can your sellers quantify exactly what they're going to say and do? If they can't, that's not a criticism. That's our opportunity as coaches. Skill, can they perform it flawlessly, professionally, consistently? If they can't, that's our opportunity as coaches. Behavioral, can they do it with confidence and conviction? Those are the pinpoints you can have with your coaching. Confidence comes from 2 things. Only 2 things. No matter what anyone in this room says, studies will bear it out. Practice and positive reinforcement. One of the things I want you to think about is there's coaching all around you. One of the things I do with my kids is I leave a note. With my customers, I send a letter to the president saying, by the way, here's some managers who are really getting it. I send it to managers saying, here's some great salespeople you have in your organization. Make the extra effort, the competition won't. So years ago when I'm coaching my wife, where I learned this lesson, I mean, I'm really hitting a stride. As I hit my stride, she's thinking about divorce. And so I'm asking all these great questions, and all of a sudden, unbeknownst to us, my 11-year-old daughter at the time, Bridget, who's now 15 and writes a blog for us, read my first coaching book. We didn't know that. All of a sudden you hear from upstairs, he's using third-party questions, just answer him and he'll shut up and leave you alone. So what I want you to think about today is when you have opportunities to coach, and a lot of you raised your hands with youth sports, I want you to go up to a kid after a game, and I want you to put your arm around him, and I want you to tell that kid they did a great job.